Welcome to Liberal Banter with Liz and Olu. This week on the podcast, there's only one topic we want to discuss, and that is last night's presidential debate between President Biden and Donald Trump. Some people online may have used the words disastrous to describe last night's debate. We're here to discuss if the sky is falling, if it's the end of the world. And please let us know your thoughts, leave comments, thread us. We want this to be a conversation. So, Olu, I think you should get started because I feel like you have had a more measured and reasonable response to last night than some of us.
Yes, I know the sheer mention of this is probably raising some of our listeners' blood pressure right now, but I just want everybody to calm down.
That's really easier said than done, girl. I'm sorry.
Just take a deep breath. The sky is not falling. This panic mode that we're in, I just don't think it's helpful to Democrats at all to act like this was a complete disaster.
Don't you feel like it was a little bit? Maybe not complete disaster, but like 50% disaster.
Okay. So it was hoarse, right? Biden was hoarse, and I had to lean forward to hear him sometimes. And sometimes his words will trail off.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, he is the only one on that stage, despite all of these things that people call him a disaster. He's the only one on the stage who actually demonstrated a policy or policies for the issues that Americans claim to care about. He's the only one who actually talked about some kind of vision for America. We had the same slogans from Trump, but can anyone listening to this or anyone who watched the debate last night, can they tell us a specific policy that Trump actually mentioned, a specific law, a specific bill, a specific executive order? He did not mention anything.
It's true. And I think we can all agree that on substance and content, Biden won the debate. I saw people posting transcripts of the debate. If you read it, yes, there were a couple of times where he kind of tapered off, but if you read both of their responses to the questions, Trump barely answered any of the questions he was asked directly. He lied constantly. I think it was hundreds of lies in a 90-minute span. Just every time he opened his mouth, no truth came out. And he didn't have any coherent plans or policies. He seemed like he was just going on the attack and using falsehoods to attack Biden and Biden's administration, but didn't present a plan for anything he was going to do. I mean, I think he did, to be fair, I think he did mention tariffs. You know, he wants to put a 10% tariff on imports, and somehow that's not going to affect the price of things, and that's going to fix inflation. You know, nonsense like that is what he put forward, but no actual plans were discussed by Trump. And I think if you were listening actually to what both candidates were saying, you could see one candidate, Biden, who has a plan, who has a position that he was trying to share, maybe not, you know, in the best way, and another person who was just there to lie and attack people.
Exactly. But I don't understand why we're then painting this as a disaster, because one guy, despite being hoarse, despite being hard to hear, actually demonstrated a working understanding of how government works, right? Meanwhile, the other guy was just there for vibes and to yell at people. The only reason why Biden was struggling is that Biden would say things like what the cost of groceries is, what the percent of people who are affected by a particular situation is, how much he reduced drug prices by. He was trying to remember actual statistics and numbers. This is not even a level of cognitive prowess that Trump tried to even achieve. Trump did not state a single statistic or number, either during his own prior presidency or something that he would like to achieve in the future. So how I am actually struggling to understand how Biden is being painted as the cognitively impaired one here.
I mean, I don't think he's, well, I'm not a doctor. That's what I'll say. On the cognitive angle, I don't have an opinion. I'm going based off the debate. I think part of the problem for people, and by people I mean Democrats who support Democrats and want to vote for Joe Biden, we have been told for months that everything is great. When his campaign took this admittedly very bold step of scheduling this debate and pushing for this debate, we were promised Joe Biden is going to be great, to the point where the Republicans wasted a lot of energy in the days leading up to the debate coming up with BS stories about Biden using performance enhancing drugs, which maybe he should have. But, like we were told, oh, don't worry about it. People would come out and tell us, oh, Biden is great. I sit with him in meetings. He's doing so well. He's not even losing a step. Everything is perfect. I remember when Jon Stewart came back to The Daily Show and talked about Biden's age and Trump's age, to be fair. I mean, they're only a few years apart. And people dragged him for that. And they were like, no, it's not a big deal. Look at all the people telling us how great Biden is. So we've had expectations that, sure, he's a little old. You see him in public, he's struggling a little, but it wasn't that big a deal. But then he came out yesterday and delivered this performance. So now what are we supposed to think? And we are not in a cult on the left, right? I mean, generally speaking, we try to call people out when they're not making sense. And I think that's what's happening is like, we don't blindly take our leader's word for things. And so you told us he's fine. The man we saw yesterday was not fine. And we can't just sit down and listen to, honestly, statements from administrative officials who are telling us everything is great when we can see that he's not. My feelings yesterday watching the debate where I felt bad. I felt like I was watching my grandparent struggling to do something that he shouldn't be doing. I really felt that way. I'm still going to vote for the guy. I don't think people are changing their vote because of this, at least people who are truly Democrats or truly liberal. I don't think they're changing their vote because we all understand what the alternative is. But it was very hard to watch. And I think what you're seeing online in opinion pieces on TV is people expressing that feeling of disappointment. I think it's okay to be disappointed in his performance yesterday. It was disappointing. I don't think it's okay to then say, you're not going to vote for him because of this. I think we've all known he's old. We got a reminder yesterday, but we have known this. And I'm not voting for Biden just for Biden. I'm voting for him. I'm voting for Democratic senators and Congress people. I'm voting for the administration. I'm voting for him hiring competent people in DC to do their jobs. I'm voting for him to get attorney generals that will fight the Supreme Court on their bullshit rulings. I'm voting for him because if there are openings on the court in the next 4 years, I want a Democrat filling those spots. That's why I'm voting for him. But I'm still allowed to be disappointed at yesterday's performance.
I completely agree with all of that. All of that is correct. And that is why, for me, again, I do not necessarily see the reason for this level of panic. At the end of the day, we have only two candidates for this job, right? And this was like a job
Yes.
interview, okay?
Yes.
Now, if you're interviewing someone and one of them is overconfident and blustering and saying that he can end the Ukraine-Russia war before he's inaugurated, before he is president, versus somebody who is actually trying to explain to you how NATO works. It seems to me that it is clear that one person has a working knowledge of what governance is like, and the other person doesn't. And the fact that one person is able to, say slogans and talk over the other person doesn't mean that they are more qualified. The point of the debate is who is more qualified. And if you actually listened to what was being said, Biden is clearly more qualified. Period. End of it for me. Between these two people, I'm not saying that there's no one else more qualified than Biden. Obviously, there are other people who can do better than Biden did. But we were
Yes.
presented with two options, and it is insane to me that anyone would have left that debate and then say that Trump won. Because what did Trump win? Trump won lies. He won on, like low jabs, you beat Medicare to death, but that is not a policy. He did not actually say a single thing that he's going to do for healthcare. Not a single thing that he is going to do for healthcare. How is that even possible? How is this something that we are all listening to and thinking that that guy seems more capable than Biden?
Yeah, agreed. And on the option, on the discussion on, the options that we have as a society, I have seen also online today quite a few people who are third-party supporters bringing up names like Cornel West, RFK Jr., Jill Stein as options for people who are frustrated after last night's debate. And we have said this before on the podcast, and I am going to say it again. Please don't throw away your vote. I mean, I don't even know why we're having this discussion. The Electoral College makes it impossible for a third-party candidate to win. Please don't waste your vote on a third-party candidate. Biden's performance yesterday, it was not great. It does not mean RFK Jr. is now a viable option in the election. I can't believe we still have to tell people this. Like, I have used the word delusional before to describe supporters of third-party candidates. I am really trying my best to be polite here. But if you are someone who is third-party curious, this is not the election for that. I don't want to sound like I've seen people call Biden supporters blue MAGA. That is not me. I am not delusional. I can see the man is old. He's probably tired and he needs a nap. I'm still going to vote for him because of the alternative. I would not advise anyone throwing away their vote on a third-party candidate. You're not going to prove a point. All you'll end up with is a Trump presidency. And then we will all have to deal with the consequences of that, which nobody wants, truly.
Exactly, which is why I think it is defeatist for people who are actually liberal. I've seen a lot of actual centrists and a lot of opinion people from the New York Times to Bloomberg to New York Mag, all of these otherwise central liberal people just piling on this. And then it becomes like a self-fulfilling like prophecy, in my opinion. At the end of the day, the goal is to prevent a Trump presidency. When we voted for Biden the first time, that was the goal. No one has ever voted for Biden because they thought he was going to come out to a debate like a rock star, right? Like no one has ever thought of Biden as a Mike Tyson of debates. No one has ever voted for him based on personality. No one has ever voted for him based on charisma. And that is the point. That has been the point of Joe Biden. The point of Joe Biden is that we do not get Trump. And that was true in 2020, and it's still true today. So for me, I don't see what exactly has changed. Apparently, 45 million Americans watched the debate, so we will see what the polls actually show, what they actually learned. I hope people were able to get past the optics of an old man standing before them and actually able to listen to what he was saying. I think that we have to give voters a little bit more credit than what media training says you should expect. Now, all of these folks, these journalists and media types, I guess they're used to super polished deliveries, and maybe that's what the consultants say it should be like. But let's actually see what people think. The only the only area which I thought Trump was convincing is immigration, and that's because he actually had the numbers behind him for that. That's it. Everything else, every other policy, whatever it is you care about, the economy, inflation, healthcare, abortion, climate change, Trump had a zero to say, nothing of substance to say on these things. Meanwhile, even black voters, his favorite subject, he could not say one thing. He said, I did criminal justice reform and mentioned Tim Scott. That's it.
His
Biden,
favorite black person,
his
his
favorite
black
black
friend.
person.
Yeah.
Exactly. He seems to think that the entire black community is just Tim Scott, Tim Scott, and Tim Scott. That's it. He is messaging to an audience of one in the black community, and that's Tim Scott. Meanwhile, Biden stood up there and mentioned loan forgiveness for HBCU students. He mentioned tax credits for black homeowners. He mentioned improved employment rates for black people. He mentioned small black businesses. These are specific things. These are specific demographics. These are specific policies. Trump did not mention a single specific thing that he is doing for black people, or that he has done or will do for black people. So what are we talking about? I'm struggling to understand the level of panic. I know I watched the debate. I stayed up all night to watch the debate when I shouldn't have, but I I was looking at it, and I guess I could see what is happening. Right, Biden is actually trying to do what the job entails. He's trying to remember statistics. He's trying to remember the actual details of his policy. He is trying to remember, the actual demographics that he's trying to speak to, and is trying to actually message to them directly. This is a cognitive thing that we should expect all politicians should be able to do, but at least he tried to do that. Trump did not try on any of that.
And I think what else is also sort of disappointing is that there are many opportunities for Democrats, basically Joe Biden, to make the Democrats' point. I have been saying for months, we being people on the left, have to deliver a message to America about what we're going to do that's different. And every time you and I have this discussion, whether it's Biden and the youth vote, Biden and black voters, where do we always say? They have to deliver the message about what they've done, what they plan to do to America. That's what we've been saying. The Democratic Party, the Biden campaign has to tell young people what they're going to do that's different, has to tell black people, has to tell Hispanic people, has to tell white people, has to tell everybody what they are doing that's different, so we can stop hearing people say both sides are the same. Yesterday was an amazing opportunity to do that, and it feels like that opportunity was wasted. I understand that those of us who pay attention, we know about what Biden is doing for black people. We understand what he's trying to do for the climate. We understand how he's trying to, push companies to stop being greedy so we can get inflation down. I understand these things are happening, but I am not the person that needs convincing. I already know what I'm going to do. And yesterday really felt like a huge, huge lost chance to make that case. I mean, for example, during the debate, Trump actually, with his full chest, said that he had sorry, let me read the quote now. He said, "What Biden has done to the Black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators." This is a quote from Trump during the debate. Biden was not the one using the super predator term. That was Hillary Clinton. And if it were me in the debate, when Trump says that and I'm Biden, my next response is going to be, look here, MF. I mean, minus the cursing, but it would have been a great point to be like, first of all, you don't even know who you're talking about because you are mixing up people. I never said that. And second, how can you say this is something done for Black people when under your administration, XYZ thing happened? That did not happen. Obviously, the CNN moderators were not going to do any fact checking. I mean, I assume that's part of the rules that they agreed to. I'm still not sure if that's the case, but nobody was going to, if CNN wasn't going to fact check Trump, I wish Biden had done that. Because I think we really have to convince some people that Trump is not the same as Biden. I'm still mind blown by this fact, but that's how America looks right now. There are people out there who genuinely believe there's no difference. And that difference could have been made clear yesterday, and it was not, unfortunately.
I think you hit the nail on the head on why that was, though. That is mostly the format of the debate, right? The debate didn't necessarily allow for back and forth, and that format was agreed upon, I guess, initially as a way of controlling Trump. But the problem is that there is no controlling Trump, right?
Right.
So the format was the debate, moderators ask a question, you answer a question, and there wasn't really meant to be cross talk between both candidates. And at some point, they had to ask for permission. Can I respond to what the other person said? So it wasn't a traditional debate in the way that we're used to, and in the way Biden would have been used to. And that was to try and control Trump, but then Trump is uncontrollable. And
Well, I
then
think they did have the opportunity to respond, though. Like, they were like, it was like 2 minutes for your answer, 1 minute for your response, 1 minute for a rebuttal. I think there were opportunities. I don't know if that's a fault of the format. I think it's just like, I think Biden's preparation didn't involve that. And
it
I don't know
wasn't
why.
it wasn't a real time response. You're not allowed to interrupt people. For example, you were not allowed to point out like that's a lie as he's saying it, right? And
Well,
so
yeah, but you could say it after.
right. But you can the point I'm making is that it wasn't necessarily an organic conversation where you can like for example, Gavin Newsom and Ron DeSantis were fact checking each other in real time, right? This was not necessarily
Right.
happening. They had to sort of wait for the person's 2 minutes to be over. And by the time Trump's 2 minutes is over, it's like a dozen lies have been said. Like, where do you even begin? Right. But
I mean, but that's why you take notes so you can be like, on this point, that's bullshit. On that point, that's bullshit. I don't know. We're not going to agree on whether the format played a role in this. And also, wasn't that what Biden's campaign agreed to?
this is true.
Honestly, I'm so frustrated because I feel like this did not need to happen. They
This is
actually could have
true.
probably just gotten away with not having debates at all. Trump didn't
This
show up for any of the GOP debates. Why did we have this one? Why do
this
we
is
have this
true.
one?
The Biden campaign requested this, okay? So, and they agreed to this. I want to tackle one of the points you were making earlier about messaging, okay? I urge people to actually listen or read like the closing statement of both candidates, right? We're talking about getting the message out. What did Trump do? Trump said, we're going to make America great again. Okay. The military is incredible. We have the highest approval rating for the VA. Ukraine should never have happened. He didn't say anything that he has done or will do. What did Biden do? He said nobody making under $400,000 will have an increase in taxes. Okay. He said that he would not allow a 10% tariff on everything the way that Trump actually wants that to happen. He reiterated that he got insulin down to $35, now correcting himself from 15 to 35, but he said that. He said no more than $2,000 for every senior. Okay. He is literally mentioning specific things that he wanted to do, that he wants to do, that he is doing. And I think as voters, and I think as people who are talking about this, we should probably give other voters some more credit. I mean, what do y'all want? You want a TikTok dance? Like how
No.
okay, but like how much
We
more
just we just
message
we
do
just
you
need
want?
90 minutes. We just need 90 minutes of coherence and witty comebacks. How hard is that for the
Okay, but like
president of the United States?
but
I
this is
mean,
your life. Your life is not a Jon Stewart special, okay? Your life is really about insulin and how much taxes you're paying. And one guy is just talking about, we're the greatest in the world and, greatest army in the world. Doesn't even say,
well, we're
he
only the greatest
hold
when
on a
Trump is
second.
president.
Hold on a second.
Don't forget.
He mentions, the military loves me. Ukraine would have never happened, but it doesn't actually say how he's going to stop that from happening, right? It doesn't actually say anything that he's going to do directly for the military. Meanwhile, Biden is up there telling you what he's going to do for your child care in specifics. So when we say messaging, I understand messaging is important. We've all been through job interviews. We all know that presentation matters, but can we just try a little bit and actually also give substance as well an equal weight? That is all I'm asking. I don't even want anyone to say Biden won, but I just don't agree that Biden is the one who lost here or face planted here.
Well, I mean, first of all, I think Trump will say that the military is only great when he's president, because he did say in the same debate that the
Yes,
military is
but that is not
terrible
a
now.
policy. That is
That's not a policy. I'm just pointing
yes,
out, like,
that is
even when
not
he's
a
talking about
policy.
his stuff, even when he's
Right.
talking about his stuff, he's contradictory and illogical.
Exactly. And then that
But
shows that he doesn't understand how anything works. He just thinks that if I'm there, it's going to be fine. He has no understanding of how you get from point A to point B and how you make them link up together. And if that is not scary, if that is not incoherent, if that is not cognitively impaired, I don't know what is.
the real scary part is that Trump may be sort of incoherent on his policy, but the team behind him is not. And it actually also applies to Biden. Biden may not be able to, eloquently explain everything he stands for, but the team behind him can, and they are not, they're not ineloquent or whatever the word is. And that is what I think Americans need to focus on. You can say Biden needs a nap. Fine. The team behind him doesn't need a map. The VP doesn't need a map. The Democratic senators, the cabinet members, Pete Buttigieg does not need a nap. And that is what you are getting when you vote for Joe Biden. If you vote for Trump, or stay home, or vote third party, because either one of those options gets us a Trump White House, you are not just voting for Trump, who is incoherent and illogical. You are voting for all the people behind him who put out things like Project 2025, the people who put 3 Supreme Court justices on the court and are now undoing years of legal precedent. That is what the options are. Forget these 2 grandpas, really. That's not the real choice. The real choice is, what version of government do you want moving forward? The current one? Do you want them to continue their work and what they're doing? Or do you want the Trump version where it's all a bunch of sycophants and, the religious fascists telling men what to do? Like, those are the options here. It's not just about 2 grandpas who are talking about their golf handicap at a debate. And I think that's very important for everybody to keep in mind.
Perfectly said. A president is only as good as the team behind him. If you want Stephen Miller to be the one deciding your life, I don't know what to say, okay? But you look at the people that Biden has behind him: Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, Hakeem Jeffries, all of these talented people. The Democrats in the House are single-handedly keeping Congress going. They single-handedly rescued the Speaker of the House. Otherwise, Republicans would have plunged the government to chaos. There is only one party that is actually governing. There is only one side who actually has a team of people who are ready and able to govern. Both sides may have, old, wacky looking leaders, but there's only one side that actually has a strong, coherent, working team. And Liz, as you've pointed out, like, we just have to keep this going all the way down, down the ballot, through Senate, through the House. Listen, all the way down, even to your superintendents in your schools, the presidents of your school boards, right? You got to keep this going all the way down. Otherwise, what you're going to get is bans on books, Bibles being shoved in your face. If you happen to want to read the Bible, that's fine, but it should not be mandated.
It should be
right?
a choice. It
And
should be a choice.
this is what we are dealing with. And for me, that is just infinitely more scary than whatever it is, Biden could have done, right? Like, Biden could have face planted, and I would still rather not have to enroll my child in a school where they have to recite the Bible every morning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is why, for me, this is a non-starter. I feel like, okay, this happened, great. What's the next move?
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all just need to take a deep breath and just inhale, exhale, do some meditation. I don't know, download an app or something. And let's check back in with everyone next week. Have a good July 4th, have some barbecue, drink some beer or whatever you want. Just let's all take a break from politics for a few days and enjoy the weekend. I'm sure it's summer where you are. Have fun, don't think about the election for a week, and then let's all come back very rejuvenated and ready to put the foot on the gas for the next few months, taking us to November. Things can change, and I want to say this because I think we're going to end here, but I want to say this to people who are, who are supporters of Biden, who are feeling down today. I've seen people use words like depressed. I don't know if it's that deep, but I just want to share, I will say, there is time. There is hope out there. The election is not lost. It is not November. You have no idea how the next few months are going to play out. I did see a rally today that Joe Biden did in North Carolina, and he seemed fired up and ready to go. Maybe that cold was gone. I don't know. Maybe they did give him the performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know. But there is time. There is hope. Do not let this distract you from the main goal, which is literally keeping America together in 2025 and onwards. So vote blue. And I think that's where we should end today.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, that is all from us today. We wish you a happy July 4th coming up. We urge you to unplug from politics, enjoy some fireworks, enjoy some barbecue, think about what matters to you, and we will see you next week when we intend to talk about Project 2025 and what the Trump team actually plans for us. Terrifying. Goodbye for now.